We have probably the most insane drama that we have had in some time in the LPL when it comes to rosters. So for people that don't know what happened, FPX had a issue where apparently Zhao Laohu, who's the top laner for FPX, was arguing with the coach over lanes. Now there was some I read something else. I'm not sure exactly where this tweet was. It's from some random Chinese Twitter account, but it was translated and it seemed pretty accurate. Most people that spoke Chinese were supporting it. And apparently the drama was based off the fact that Milky Way generally paths bot. And because Milky Way paths bot frequently, Zhao Lao, who sometimes thinks that he needs to also push his lane, he's got to crash his wave at some point. And the coach was arguing with him whether or not this was proper, where Zhao Lao was like, hey, sometimes I just got to push my wave, crash my wave, and die in order to keep my lane in a good state, even if my jungler is not pathing here. And the fact that we're pathing bot is fine. I'm that's not the issue, but the issue is that as a top laner, I also need to be able to play the game. I need to push my wave. Just because my jungler permapaths bot, I can't let my wave get pushed in forever. So there was a discussion, or there was an argument between Zhao Laohu and their coach, which is Mouse. Now, the problem was that the manager of FPX, the team manager, got involved. He was told to off by the manager, in which he responded by going home. So the manager said off, so he off. So this is the second time that this has actually happened in LPL in the last week. We had Cube from OMG have the same thing where Cube essentially rage quit his team as well. So here it is. Update. The real reason why Zhao Laohu quit is that the manager, who is only a master level player, was yapping all the time. He told the manager to shut up today and received some physical and verbal aggression from the manager. So the manager apparently got in his face. I think that there was another tweet thread. I could probably find it later. There was another tweet thread that went more into detail about the exact things. Now, from here, there are different accounts that actually happen. So apparently most of the team, or two of Zhao Laohu's teammates, the other two Chinese players, are on his side with everything. Also, the former jungler Moyen, he was on the side of Zhao Laohu, where they said that they would be willing to support Zhao Laohu with, this type of thing, because obviously you have a issue where the player is now not even going to be playing for FPX. He's not playing in tomorrow's match. There's clear team issues. And the thing about LPL now is that every single match matters. So if you end up missing part of this group stage, you could end up completely and be in the lower bracket. From the lower bracket, if you are in the lower bracket after the first stage of LPL, you can't even make playoffs directly. The best you can hope for is placing top 3 in that lower bracket, which would allow you to play a best of 5 play-in match into playoffs. We have this Reddit thread currently on the drama. FPX manager has been an asshole for a while, by the way. It's not shocking that Milky Way and Care are on Zhao Laohu's side. In my opinion, if I'm FPX, I just cut this manager off completely. This incident actually publicized him being an idiot, but he's been an issue for a long time beyond League. This is a consistent problem that happens in competitive play. I've had the same problem when as far back as when I was a player. Also, there was a issue with Perks and the general manager of Heretics. And I think the issue arises from the fact that when pros are in a competitive environment, what pros want and what should happen is that the people that have input on the game should only be the coaching staff, the analysts, and the players. That should be it. And the managers, most of the time, will be in the room, they'll be around, but because they're not supposed to be helping with the game, they should almost never give their opinion. And a lot of times you see a lot of blowups like this happen because a person that's involved, or somebody who's involved with a team that doesn't have the knowledge of everyone else, them intruding and trying to give game advice or trying to settle disputes is not what they're paid for. They are paid to carry on all the logistical aspects of the team. They're supposed to be the guys that, make the schedule scrims, decide when the team is going to eat, manage all the sponsorship obligations that the team has to do, manage when they go to the studio, schedule things. That is what a manager's job is. So whenever a manager crosses that boundary and they start giving input, it normally pisses off players. And that's what led to this incident. I thought the funniest part was when people were talking about this, or when this incident went down, it says Zhao Laohu quit because the manager, who is only a master level player, was yapping all the time. Bro, in the West, we have managers that are gold, managers that are fucking plat, and they're yapping and they're giving their fucking input. Dude, if you're a manager, it doesn't matter, bro. You do what Romain does. You root on the team. You're there. You can talk about like the logistical aspects of things. You can give input as to like, like the way that you want people to approach, like hey, like approach this with a healthy mindset. Like we can't be like, you can talk about that type of stuff and talk about like, attitude, things outside the game. But when you start trying to talk about a in-game situation as somebody who doesn't have that level of in-game knowledge, it's like completely useless. Number one, it's not your job. And most of the time it just feels like condescending in a way. So yeah, I would say on these situations, I'm always going to be on the side of the player, unless the player does something really fucked up. I just don't think a manager should be, number one, threatening like physical and verbal aggression ever. Like, you're the fucking manager. It's like, who the fuck are you? Like, manager is also kind of like one of the jobs in esports that it depends. Like, you can have good managers, but you don't automatically get respect for being a manager. Like, a lot of people have got into managerial positions in esports by just being there first and being willing to do the job. Like, we've had managers that are essentially just like glorified fans before. So it's not a role that automatically commands respect. Like, obviously there's differences between general managers, which could be like somebody like Papa Smithy, somebody that's deciding roster, somebody that's really like core. And then there's team managers who are essentially like the team mom type thing. So I'm definitely on the side of like, fire this fucking manager, let Xiaolahu play. This team was this team is supposed to be a borderline worlds team. They placed 5th, 6th. Realistically, they were the 5th best team in spring split. They placed top 4 in the regular season. They lost to NIP in a pretty close match in the winner bracket or in the playoffs. This is a team that I want to see stick together, and I think it would suck if the team ends up falling apart because a manager is overstepping his boundaries. So that's my take on the situation, and that's pretty much everything that happened here in China. Now, we talked about Xiaolahu. The other thing is that apparently Cube had a similar issue where he just rage quit the team. There's not as much information about what happened with Cube directly, but Cube from OMG apparently just quit the team, so they're going to have a new top laner as well. Like the Twitter link I posted. This might be it. Let me see. Xiaolahu said that he won't play the split. He got into an argument with the coach, but the manager interrupted and physically hit him, yelling in his face. And telling him to leave. If you physically hit him, like, f this guy, bro. Press charges, too. Hao former FPX jungle, said he got kicked out of the house. Full translation. I want to tell fans that I might not be able to play anymore. During the scrim today, our jungle first clear top to bot, and I was pushing. I got into an argument with Mouths. He said that my pushing was meaningless since jungle was going bot, but I didn't understand why I should always give up pushing just because the jungle was pathing bot. As our argument continued, the manager intervened because he couldn't stand it anymore. When I told him to shut up, he stood up, pushed my chest, pointed a finger at my face, and asked, "Who are you telling to shut up?" demanding me to leave. I was afraid that he might hit me, so I warned him to watch his hand. He then put his hand down, but started yelling in my face, repeating, "Who are you?" asking to shut up and telling me to get out. I wanted to remind him of our agreement not to threaten players with not playing, but I couldn't get a word in before he interrupted me repeatedly. Eventually, I gave up and asked him to release my contract. He told me to just leave, so I packed my things and left. It's impossible to communicate. Thankfully, Haoye and Cheng are willing to help Xiaolahu live at their place. When a fan asked him to stay because FPX is doing well, Xiaolahu replied, "He didn't want me to play. How can I keep playing?" So there is the statement that Xiaolahu made afterwards. Big stuff, bro. Mouse was a player. Yeah, Mouse was a player, but to be clear, like, Mouse is the coach. Mouse is not the guy that created the situation. Like, coaches and players arguing over things is fine. Like, that's reasonable. Obviously, there's levels to it. There's things that cross the boundary, whatever. It's completely okay for a coach and a player to get into an argument over something game related. What's not okay is the manager coming in here and then threatening the player, telling him to fucking leave, trying to kick him off the team, essentially bullying him physically. Like, that is the part where it's like, fuck this manager. FPX had a good thing going. It would really suck to see this team essentially fall because of a manager who is easily replaceable.